to the June 23, 2022 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time I open up the floor to public comments. All right, hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on then to agenda item number 3. And I call on Tammy Bender to discuss resolution 2022-12.
Good morning, Commissioners. Finance has 2 budget resolutions for approval. The first one's for the retirement fund. It's increasing revenue and expenditures by $8 million. The budget increase is for the gain and loss on sale in the retirement fund, and it's due to the state of the investment markets right now. This year's experience has gone against our historically stable trend, and if the market stabilizes, any unused budget would remain. The second resolution is for MHIDD. They're increasing revenue and expenditures by $313,859. And this resolution is based on what is needed from the state and county to make their budget whole to pay their service providers and employees. The state increased the rates for all their services this fiscal year. However, they did not pay us, any additional funding to the counties for the increase in their primary allocation. Another factor is their current deficit, is the number of children who are being referred and deemed eligible for services is at an all-time high. So there's an increase to the Perry County subsidy of $1,047, Cumberland County subsidy of $4,768. There's additional funding of $238,000 requested in their rebudget, and additional MA billing of $70,000. Are there any questions?
I just want to be clear on this. So what you're saying is the state increased the rates that we have to pay the providers, but they did not change their funding allocation to pay for the services, the Commonwealth.
Correct. They didn't put it in their MH's primary allocation. Now they are asking for it in their rebudget.
Okay, so we have to cross our fingers and hope that they actually appropriate money for the spending they've authorized.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have an administrative question. Is there one resolution or will there be 2?
There's two resolutions, one for the retirement fund, one for the MHIDD fund.
There's only one listed.
To be clear, there are 2 budget resolutions that are both contained within one commissioner's resolution.
All right, that clears it up. Thank you.
So Monday we'll vote on one item. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Tammy.
Welcome.
Agenda item number 4 is contracts and grants. Section 1 is existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda, no additional costs or increases to the county. They are for children and youth, the district attorney, FID, facilities, liquid fuels, finance, MHIDD, prison, drug and alcohol, and the prison. Commissioners, do you have any questions about any of those contracts before we move on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we will move on then to section 2. These are new contracts, vendor services grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. And I'll start by calling on Kim Witten from Aging. Kim?
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. We are the lead agency for the state food purchase program, and we'll receive an allocation from the state once the budget is passed from the Department of Agriculture. And our office in turn will give each food pantry a budget amount to purchase food from Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. And that will be distributed to eligible clients during the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Any questions?
Any questions for Kim? Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Next we have Jamie River from Children and Youth. Jamie?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first one that I have is for the County of Jefferson, which is a detention facility in Ohio. I don't know if you're totally aware, but we are on a shortage of detention facilities and beds in Pennsylvania. And probation has sought them out as an option for us if needed. So this is actually for the 21-22 fiscal year, and then there's a continuation for 22-23. The other one is for Central Counties Youth Center, also a detention center that we had to contract with on an emergency basis as probation had a client that needed a placement and we had no other options available to us. So we are contracting with them for 21-22. We have an amendment to Child First Services for 21-22. They are adding an additional level of care, concentrated care. The rate is $794.32 a day. This is a one-on-one supervision program. It's a one client is only allowed in the placement at a time. And they're using that to assess both new clients that are coming into their program to make sure that they are safe to be with the rest of the clients. And also for some of our other clients that have extreme behaviors and mental health concerns and need that extra level. We are going to monitor that program very closely, and we will be checking up on all of the clients in that level of care on a regular basis to make sure that they still actually need that level. The next one is for Hugh Smith and Associates. They provide our evaluations to determine if we can justify emotional abuse on our cases. They had a large increase to their evaluation this year because it is no longer funded through the insurance program. Penn State Milton S. Hershey, this is 22-23 contract also. They have a 3% increase to their rate. They review our records whenever we are trying to determine if a case is eligible for a physical abuse. Common Sense Adoption Services, 22-23 contract. They restructured their programs for this year, resulting in minimal increases. They did not request up to the state maximum allowable as some of our providers do, but they are also increasing their rates that they're paying to our foster parents. So we definitely want to be able to support our foster parents with that increase. We have Over the Rainbow, Franklin County Children's Advocacy Center. They have a 3% increase. They do our physical examinations on our abuse cases to help us substantiate those cases also. And then we have two agreements. One is for Community Service Group. It's a linkage agreement so that we can share information with the provider. There is no cost associated with that. And then Health Partners Plan, which is also a memorandum of understanding. And again, there is no cost associated with that. It's just to be able to share information.
Any questions for Jamie?
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you.
We'll move on then to the district attorney, and Eric Ranovich is here with us by Zoom. Eric?
Good morning, Commissioners. The grant before you is from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. It's a police traffic services grant. It's a one-year grant, runs October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. Covers payments and support for aggressive driving, enforcement, roving patrols and checkpoints, occupant protection, the click it or ticket program, and pedestrian safety. It's the identical grant from last year. It just looks like it's less money because it's only a one-year grant as compared to a two-year grant, but it's the same dollar figure.
Any questions for Eric? Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, next we have elections, and Bethany Salzarillo is here with us. Bethany?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is federal money for improving election technology and security. So Cumberland County's portion is that $23,000 that you see listed there.
Any questions for Bethany? Okay, thanks, Bethany. All right, next we have IMTO and Mark Adams is joining us by Zoom. Mark?
Good morning, everyone. The county is interested in switching vendors for our Laserfiche provider to improve our level of service with our Laserfiche application. The new vendor we chose is Reynolds Business Systems. They are a current vendor for some scanning initiatives with Recorder of Deeds, and they also are a Laserfiche provider. Our new contract is for $31,504.15. That is an increase of about $3,300, but we are including some professional service hours in there to kind of kickstart a few projects that we have in the queue for forms, applications, and workflows and payment integrations. So presenting that for your approval today or consideration.
Any questions for Mark? All right, we'll move on then to liquid fuels finance, and I'm actually covering this for Kurt. So this is with Kinsley Construction. This is an addendum. This is actually a change order. During the rehabilitation project for Hertzler's Bridge, the bridge has been taken apart, and as they have dismantled the bridge, they have found some additional work that needs to be done, not visible again when the bridge was fully assembled. HRG and both Kirk Center have reviewed the request, and they both recommend approval. If you do have any additional questions, I can get those for you before Monday. Any questions?
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on then to Annie Streit with MHIDD. Annie?
Good morning, all. I have several contracts to present. The first being Susquehanna Software. They're our vendor, and literally we use Susquehanna Software for all of the parts of our operation. So this is actually a renewal. There's an additional $2,000 added from last year. The total contract is $33,600. And then the second contract is for IDD. It's for Vista Autism Services, and it's for the current fiscal year. And it's a program that's being developed to work with individuals with autism. Total contract cost is $100,000. The next one is with Bold, and Bold is one of our providers for respite services for individuals with intellectual disabilities. This is an increase of $40,000 for the current fiscal year. And it's to make some one-time purchases and program improvements. And the funds being used for this is actually prior year retainage funds from the IDD side of our budget. Total contract cost then comes to $104,052. The next one is with the Arc of Cumberland and Perry counties, and they are developing a program for individuals with dementia and intellectual disabilities. So it's an increase of $120,000. It's for the current fiscal year, and that brings their total contract cost to $602,334. And then the final contract is actually for our early intervention program. And this is a program for 22-23. And it's a decrease of $3704. And it's for nutrition support and occupational and physical therapies. The total contract amount is $80,978. Is there any questions for me?
Questions for Annie?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Annie. All right, next we have the prison, and we have the warden here with us.
Morning, Commissioners. The prison is seeking authorization to contract with Keeping Commissary Network for the purpose of inmate trust fund release services. When an inmate is released, he or she will now receive a debit/Visa card instead of a check. The fund will immediately be available for the released inmate once activated. This will help the prison combat the effort of released inmates trying to alter prison issued checks. There are no fees associated with this service, and all equipment and cards come at the cost of the prison. Any questions? Sorry.
Altering checks issued by the prison, did you say?
Taken, sir.
Issuing, altering checks. that are-
Sometimes individuals, when they leave, they will try to alter the check. We have fail-safe in place for that
All right.
also.
Can't you go to prison for that? So, can't you go to prison for that?
You can, sir.
Okay.
We keep the beds open.
Revolving door sometimes. All right, thank you.
All right, no additional questions. We'll move on then to the sheriff, and Sheriff Smith is here with us to discuss a grant.
Good morning, commissioners. We're asking to apply for a grant with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. It's formerly known as the Highway Safety Grant, commonly known as that. Total grant application is $161,465.12. This is a decrease from previous years due to this being a one-year contract, not a two-year contract. And the goal of this grant is to reduce motor vehicle fatalities in Cumberland, Dauphin, Franklin, and Erie counties through education and team efforts with police and law enforcement regarding seatbelts, alcohol, and aggressive driving. Do you have any questions?
Is that the grant that the coroner's office used to?
Yes.
Okay, and that's now
We,
migrated to,
yes, it migrated to our office approximately 5 years ago.
okay. 5 years ago. I'm getting caught up. So-
I'm sorry, probably 4 years ago.
Okay, well, that's not so bad. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we move on then to agenda item number 5, and this is a discussion for authorization to advertise for the bridge debris removal project. And I'll call on Solicitor Brenneman to discuss.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm doing this for Kurt Center. Late, I'm Sawyer B too. You are responsible for
What do you pay
maintaining.
that guy for?
You're responsible for maintaining the bridges in the county, and one of the items of maintenance is removing debris from the upstream portion of the bridge. This is authorization to advertise for bridge debris removal. It'll be a bridge bundle of 9 bridges, so one contractor, if the award is made, will be responsible for doing that for 9 of your bridges. It'll be through PennDOT.
Any questions for?
I have a question, but you're not gonna know the answer, so I'll save it for later.
Thank you, Bruce.
Does anyone know how frequently this is done?
How what's going?
How frequently it's done?
That's a very good question. I think you did one last year, or maybe more than one last year. But I'm assuming it's as needed,
Okay.
and apparently 9 are needed.
I think the question I have centered around the fact that I think in some cases the municipalities actually do it for us.
Yes.
So I don't know that there's any money changes hands for that, but I'd like to understand that arrangement a little better. But I'll ask somebody who understands.
I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on then to agenda item number 6. This is also an authorization, a discussion for authorization to advertise for the purchase of a GPS total station. And Mike Levinsky is joining us on Zoom to discuss. Mike?
Commissioners, morning, Stacy and Keith. You had previously approved us to purchase this equipment. And when we started the process for the purchase, we found out that the vendor was not CoStarz approved. So that meant that we had to move the process into an advertised bid. So that's where we're at right now. It's just a shift from purchasing it from an approved vendor over to now we have to request bids.
Any questions for Mike?
There's no penalties involved for our misstep on that or anything?
Oh, no.
Okay, all right, we just have to do it over. Okay, great, thanks.
All right. It
Thank you.
kind of sounds like you caught it before any missteps.
Okay, good,
Yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank
All
you.
right, yep, we'll move on then to agenda item number 7, and this is discussion for the Cumberland County Property and Liability Insurance Recommendation Memo, and Tabitha Coons is joining us by Zoom to discuss. Hi, Tabitha.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So the memo in front of you today is for the county's property liability, inland marine crime, auto, garage, and cyber liability renewal for 2022-2023. The county currently has this coverage through Travelers Insurance. Travelers did come through this year with an overall renewal terms and an overall increase of 1.8%. That's an increase of $11,241 from last year. This has been probably the best renewal we've seen from Travelers in several years. A lot of that had to do with the sale of the nursing home. We changed some umbrella coverage as well. We sold some autos, which reduced our inventory and our auto policy. The cyber did go up about 30%, but to balance everything out, overall average was just a 1.8% increase for the 7/1/2022 to 7/1/2023 year. Any questions?
Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8 is capital projects, and we'll start with the district attorney. I'm calling Courtney here to discuss.
Morning, commissioners. We're requesting a capital project to replace the printer both in our main office and our appellate division. The lease on those current printers is up and they are struggling with the amount of paper we print on a regular basis. So this would be a new lease for 2 new printers.
Any questions for Courtney?
What would have been the cost, just to outright buy them?
The cost to outright buy them, I don't have the exact figure, but my understanding is it would have been more than the cost to lease them, and the rate that we're having to have the company come in and do repairs on the printers. These printers are clearly at the end of their lifespan. The one in the main office is currently eating paper, and the one in appellate is printing random blue stripes on things.
We get the cost, what it would be to simply buy them.
I can, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Then I believe that you've been working with IMTO.
Correct.
So they should be able to get those figures for us pretty quickly.
Correct. I believe
Okay.
they already have those figures. I just don't have
Okay.
it
That's
right
all
now.
right. That's all right.
Okay. Thank you, Courtney.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on then to agenda item number 9 for Commissioner's Liaison report. And I'll call on Commissioner Eichelberger to get us started.
Okay. The recycling authority met on Monday. The bulk of the meeting was spent on the finalizing the review of the 10-year waste management plan that I've reported on in the past. So they've reached a conclusion on that. You'll recall that the plan does more than meet the capacity requirements of the next 10 years, but they a lot of with other things dealt with the details. So it's pretty thick document, and it's going to be forwarded to us. They approved it at their level and voted to forward it to the commissioners, and we're going to get it either late today or tomorrow. Judd has a equipment issue he has to deal with today in Carlisle, so it's possible it may slip to tomorrow, but we're not time urgent on that. But that comes to the commissioners next for review and presumed approval. So we'll be seeing more on that soon. I was unable to attend the MHIDD meeting because of a developing issue last week at the time. So, but Annie was kind enough to send me a summary on very short notice, I might add. So I appreciate that. I'll just give you a quick once over on that. We continue to face the prospective budget deficit situation of $600,000 for MH services. This ties very much back to the budget resolution that we discussed earlier and the shortfalls. So we have no idea if the state's going to plug that gap for these state services or not. But the advisory board has been in, we have a number of very active members who've been gracious enough to engage in a significant amount of legislative contact, trying to ensure that our friends on the Hill understand the need and the consequences if that need is met. If the on that, that's going to come to us to pick up, or most likely it's going to result in a reduction of services. To that end, MH staff, Cumberland and Perry, have been meeting to plan out adjustments to service provision in the event that the state doesn't come through. Obviously, we're hopeful that that gap will be filled, but hope's not a strategy, as the saying goes. So they're making contingency plans that would certainly involve more narrowly focusing service provision. We are in some cases in a near emergency situation with waiting lists and such, so that is certainly not the preferred course of action. But that and other potential solutions are on the table, so they are working diligently on that. And he also mentioned to me that they are working on I guess it's a pilot project in which they would take a much more integrated solutions approach to issues facing children and youth, mental health, and IDD offices, and complex cases, because of course there's a lot of spillover between those departments in terms of the consumer base they serve. But they're looking at a potential coordinated effort that the state would be very interested in. They've either presented already or going to be presenting shortly on how they could integrate those services for greater efficiency, greater effectiveness. And this would be for complex cases, so it would be narrowly focused, but we do have complex cases, and those case numbers are probably going to grow. So, so they're taking a very proactive approach on that, as we are accustomed to, and we're hopeful that's going to. I see they gave the presentation last week to the state. Hopeful new avenues of support will strengthen our programming. Certainly be a welcome development. Also, the human service departments, who are part of the block grant that we opted into a number of years back now, they've received the instructions from the Commonwealth to prepare the upcoming year's plan. So that's they're working on that. That's going to involve a number of community stakeholder involvement sessions and such. So we'll probably be hearing some information and feedback on that. And of course, that ultimately comes to the commissioners to approve the submittal of the plan to the Commonwealth. So that's everything I have right now.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner DiFilippo.
Yes, thank you. Agent Advisory Board met last Friday. Nice to report that all 6 of our senior citizen centers have increased all their activities, going very well. Regarding COVID, department has spent all of their COVID funds. They still have some aging block grant funds available, but they have some strict guidelines on them on how they can be used. The department will get more American Rescue Plan money, hopefully for the next fiscal year. There still continues to be a shortage of direct care workers. However, the number of people on the wait list has gone from 45 to 24 as of May 5th. CapCog met on Monday, June 20th. There were 2 presentations given. One was by Bruce Holzscheiser of HRG regarding capital improvement planning, specifically pertaining to stormwater programs. The discussion centered around building consensus with putting priority on minimizing asset failure, service disruptions. Another presentation was done by David Krasser from Keystone Municipal Solutions. This group is a full-service local government management and operational consulting firm. They are only 2 years old. They are a new company and part of McNeese, Wallace & Newark. They provide, among other things, interim management, executive recruitment, staff training and development, police consulting, and special project assistance. There were quite a few municipalities already working with them as of now. The yearly COG auction is July 20th. So far, 15 members will be participating. We hope we can get more. The annual golf tournament and dinner is scheduled for September 19th at Armitage Golf Course in Hampton Township. Covered the library board meeting on June 20th for Commissioner Fauci. Yesterday, Carolyn gave a pretty good report. Some of the stuff I might mention here might be a repeat, but in the treasurer's report, there were no major surprises in the financials. Everything seems to be in line with last year. The board is thinking of possibly reducing the number of board meetings from monthly to something else. I don't know what that something else will be. They will discuss that more at the next meeting. As Carolyn had mentioned, they are looking into their cybersecurity. There's a conditional grant task group that's seeking the best cyber liability and data breach solution for the library system. And as Carolyn mentioned yesterday, the group called Coalition performed an active risk assessment. No critical or high risk items were found. Most were medium risk that could be explained and addressed. And lastly, the Ag Board in partnership with Silver Spring Township held an event to mark the 200th and 201st preserve farms in the county. Several county folks were there, including Commissioner Eichelberger and former Commissioner Jim Hertzler. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving on to agenda item number 10, I would like to report that an executive session was held 6/22/2022 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. Is there any other business to come before the board today?
I just have one quick question for you. Since Vince mentioned the senior centers, are you aware if we received ARPA Recovery Rescue Act requests from our senior center?
I've only started looking at the applicants.
I'll make my point rather than ask a question, which is I would hope if we're going to see applications there, that perhaps we would encourage them to take a more coordinated approach so that we are providing equal level of attention across that group. So I hate, of course, having applicants, one that might be organized and somebody else opts out or doesn't know about it. So we should take a look at that if we could.
I can certainly reach out to Annie and request that she do some outreach as well. Any other business to come before the board today? All right, we are adjourned.